It starts with a twinge, a slight stiffness in the knee when you get out of bed, or a dull ache when you walk up the stairs. But what many seniors over 60 dismiss as normal aging may actually be the first warning signs of degenerative knee problems, the kind that gradually rob mobility, independence, and quality of life, leaving far too many people feeling trapped in their own bodies, unable to enjoy the very activities that once brought them joy, like gardening, walking the dog, dancing at family gatherings, or even just getting up from a chair without wincing. And before long, doctors begin recommending surgery as the only viable path forward. Yet what if that was not the only solution? What if that sense of defeat so many feel was misplaced? Because buried beneath the pain and inflammation lies a powerful truth: that the body, even past 60 or 70 or 80, still possesses a remarkable capacity to heal. And sometimes, all it takes to activate that healing is a small daily practice. So simple and safe, it almost seems too good to be true. Yet for countless seniors around the world, this 3-minute stretch has quietly transformed their lives, strengthening not just knees, but confidence, balance, energy, and emotional well-being. And to understand how this is even possible, we have to begin by dismantling a damaging myth: that surgery is the only answer to chronic joint issues, when in fact, the root cause of most knee pain in older adults is not broken bones or irreparable cartilage loss, but tightness, weakness, and poor circulation in the surrounding muscles, especially the quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and hip flexors. And when these key muscle groups become tight or imbalanced from years of sitting, poor posture, or inactivity, the knee joint ends up bearing forces it was never designed to absorb, creating friction, inflammation, and pain. And unfortunately, most people treat the symptom, popping painkillers, icing the knee, or wearing braces, without ever addressing the muscular imbalance that started it all, which is why the pain keeps coming back. And this is precisely what makes this 3-minute stretch so revolutionary. It targets the exact source of stress around the knee, unlocking stiff tissue, restoring alignment, and triggering increased blood flow to the joint itself, which delivers fresh oxygen and nutrients while flushing out inflammatory toxins that build up when the body is sedentary for too long. And what's most astonishing is that it doesn't require any equipment, can be done safely at home in just a small space, and works gently with the body's natural repair process rather than against it, which is why so many seniors are calling it a game changer, because it doesn't just mask the pain, it retrains the body to move in a way that prevents the pain from returning. And over time, this new movement pattern becomes second nature, creating a positive feedback loop where reduced pain leads to more movement, which leads to stronger muscles, which further reduces pain. And this isn't just anecdotal. There's a growing body of science confirming that simple stretching routines, especially ones that include dynamic tension and breath control, can dramatically reduce chronic joint pain, improve range of motion, and even reverse the muscular atrophy that contributes to instability and fall risk in older adults. And what makes this particular stretch so unique is its sequence, beginning with a gentle quad and hip flexor release that shifts pelvic alignment, followed by a standing wall-supported calf extension that reactivates the posterior chain, and concluding with a 30-second isometric hold that trains the knee to track properly over the foot. 3 steps, 3 minutes, every day. And for many seniors, the difference is not just measurable, it's dramatic, often noticed in as little as a week. And unlike high-impact exercises that can actually worsen joint wear, this stretch uses micro-movements to create macro changes, encouraging the synovial fluid inside the knee joint to rehydrate cartilage and reduce grinding, while also signaling the brain to relax chronic muscle tension patterns that have been clenching for years. And while that might sound technical, the real takeaway is simple. When your muscles are taught to cooperate rather than compete, the joint they surround begins to function smoothly again. And this is especially important for seniors, because as we age, proprioception, or the body's sense of position, can decline, leading to subtle changes in gait that gradually strain the knees. And this 3-minute routine acts almost like a reset button, reminding the body how to move with efficiency and grace. And the ripple effect go far beyond just knees because the relief often extends to the lower back, hips, and ankles, all of which are part of a connected kinetic chain. And when one part moves better, the rest begin to follow, which is why those who adopt this stretch often report improved posture, more restful sleep, better balance, and a renewed desire to stay active because pain doesn't just limit movement. It limits hope. It makes everyday life feel smaller and more confined. And when that pain lifts, even slightly, it creates a sense of freedom that could be life-changing. And yet what's most powerful about this approach is not just what it fixes, but what it prevents. Because once a senior is told that surgery is inevitable, there's often a long, anxious wait, filled with decreased activity, more pain, and more dependence on others. But by intervening early with a stretch like this, many of those surgeries can be postponed or avoided altogether. And that's not just saving money. It's saving independence, saving dignity, saving years of mobility that would otherwise be lost to recovery and rehab. And for those who think it's too late, that their knees are too far gone, it's worth remembering that healing doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. And even small improvements in muscle length and joint function can make a profound difference in pain perception and daily function. And so before reaching for another bottle of painkillers or resigning yourself to surgery, imagine what 3 focused minutes could do, not just once, but every day, as a practice of reclaiming control over your own body. Once seniors begin to experience the subtle yet undeniable improvement from incorporating this daily 3-minute stretch into their routine, a cascade of positive changes begins to unfold throughout the body. Because while the original focus is knee pain, what emerges over time is a transformation that touches nearly every aspect of physical function and emotional well-being, starting with improved circulation. Because the deliberate muscle contractions and elongations involved in the stretch act, almost like a pump, encouraging better blood flow not just to the knee, but to the lower extremities as a whole, which is especially crucial for older adults who may suffer from reduced vascular elasticity, peripheral neuropathy, or cold extremities due to sluggish blood movement. And as blood flow increases, oxygen and nutrient delivery to tissues improves, allowing the body to repair microscopic wear and tear that would otherwise accumulate and lead to further degeneration. And it's not just about the knee itself. When the quads and hip flexors are gently lengthened and activated, the pelvis repositions into a more natural alignment, reducing the anterior tilt that often places strain on the lower back. So what begins as a knee intervention becomes a postural correction tool as well, subtly correcting decades of compensatory movement that may have developed from sedentary habits, injury, or simply the natural aging process. And with better posture comes less fatigue because when the body is stacked correctly over its center of gravity, muscles don't have to overwork just to keep you upright. And this leads to improved energy levels, more endurance throughout the day, and fewer instances of crashing in the afternoon due to muscle exhaustion. And these changes create a ripple effect. When people have less pain and more energy, they naturally begin to move more, walk further, and re-engage in activities they had previously abandoned, which further strengthens the muscles surrounding the knee, reinforcing the protective effect and accelerating the healing process in a virtuous cycle. And what's perhaps most surprising is that this increased movement doesn't have to come in the form of intense workouts or formal exercise classes, because something as simple as choosing to take the stairs instead of the elevator, or walking an extra loop around the garden becomes possible and even pleasurable when knees no longer ache with every step. And it's in this low intensity, consistent movement that lasting joint health is built, because unlike sudden bursts of high-intensity training, which can cause more harm than good for aging joints, these small but regular activities nurture the body's recovery systems without overwhelming them. And this principle is what makes the 3-minute stretch so powerful. It meets the body where it is, with movements that are gentle enough to avoid injury, but effective enough to trigger real adaptation. And it also taps into the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the brain responsible for rest, digestion, and healing, which is often chronically underactive in seniors dealing with chronic pain, poor sleep, and high stress. And this is not just theory. Science has shown that mindful movement, including stretching paired with deep breathing, reduces cortisol levels and increases the release of endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, creating a double benefit of mechanical relief and chemical balance. And over time, this contributes not only to reduced physical pain, but also improved mood, better sleep quality, and a stronger sense of control over one's body and future. And for many seniors who feel overwhelmed by the number of prescriptions, doctor visits, and warnings they receive, this stretch offers something rare empowerment because it gives them something they can do on their own without waiting for an appointment or needing expensive equipment. And that autonomy becomes its own kind of medicine, building confidence with each repetition and making it far less likely they'll fall into the common spiral of inactivity and decline that affects so many people after 60. And one often overlooked benefit of this kind of consistent stretching is its impact on joint lubrication. Because as we age, the synovial fluid that cushions and nourishes joints can become thick and sticky, reducing its ability to protect cartilage from grinding wear. But movement, especially movement that includes load and stretch, stimulates the production and circulation of this fluid, helping it retain its viscosity and effectiveness, which in turn keeps cartilage healthier and joints more resilient. And what's particularly inspiring is that even people who've been told their knees are bone on bone have reported real improvement. Not because the stretch regenerates cartilage overnight, but because when surrounding muscles are balanced, even damaged joints can function far better and with far less pain than expected, proving that there's almost always something that can be done to feel better, even in advanced stages of wear. And when you combine the mechanical changes with the mental and emotional uplift that comes from doing something positive each day, the result is a sense of renewed hope, which is something no surgery, pill, or brace can deliver on its own. And it's why so many seniors who try this stretch find themselves not only walking better, but smiling more, sleeping more soundly, and reconnecting with their independence, which is perhaps the greatest victory of all, because true health is not measured only in numbers on a chart. It's in the ability to do what you love, go where you please, and feel strong enough to fully participate in your own life without fear or hesitation. And that's the real promise of this simple, consistent 3-minute stretch, one that is restoring mobility, relieving pain, and most importantly, rewriting the story of what aging has to look and feel, like one knee at a time. As seniors continue to practice this simple yet highly effective 3-minute stretch on a daily basis, what unfolds is not only a progressive reduction in pain and stiffness, but also a more profound awakening of muscular coordination and proprioceptive awareness that too often declines with age. Because this movement, while appearing basic on the surface, triggers a complex series of neuromuscular responses that retrain the body to move more efficiently and with greater balance. And when this happens, the likelihood of falls, a major concern in older adults, decreases dramatically, since strong and responsive muscles around the knee joint provide not only support, but rapid reaction to changes in terrain, posture, or sudden movement, giving the senior body the reflexive capability it often loses due to years of compensating for joint discomfort. And as the body relearns how to engage and stabilize the knee through this repeated motion, the underlying joint capsule becomes more resilient because ligaments and tendons that may have once become stiff and fibrotic due to inactivity begin to soften and lengthen again, adapting to the consistent low-force stress of the stretch and growing more pliable and elastic. And this elasticity is crucial since it allows the joint to move through its full range without strain. preventing further injury and delaying degenerative processes that would otherwise continue to erode cartilage and cause friction in everyday movements. And one of the most overlooked benefits of this kind of gentle, restorative stretching is its influence on lymphatic drainage, because in older adults, the lymphatic system, responsible for clearing waste products and toxins from the body, often becomes sluggish due to reduced movement and poor muscular contraction. But the action of elongating the legs, flexing and releasing the calves and thighs as done during the stretch, mimics the squeezing and pumping needed to move lymph fluid out of the tissues and back into circulation, where it could be filtered and expelled, leading to less swelling in the knees, ankles, and lower legs, and improving overall tissue health. And the skin itself can benefit, becoming less puffy, more oxygenated, and better nourished as fresh blood flow and lymphatic circulation increase with every session. And on a neurological level, the repetition of this stretch helps reestablish healthy signaling between the brain and the knee, because as pain diminishes and movement increases, the brain begins to reprogram itself to no longer expect discomfort with each motion, breaking the cycle of fear and anticipation that often leads to stiff, guarded movement patterns that worsen the problem. And in fact, studies show that chronic joint pain is often perpetuated not solely by structural damage, but by faulty neural circuits that have been hardwired through months or years of avoiding certain movements. And by gently reintroducing those patterns with safety and consistency, this stretch not only reconditions the muscles, but also re-educates the nervous system, bringing it back into a state of natural ease and flow that many seniors haven't felt in years. And it is this mind-body synergy that begins to create dramatic improvements not only in the knees, but in the hips, ankles, and even the lower back. Because the biomechanical chain of the lower body is interconnected, and when one joint begins to function more efficiently, others soon follow, making each movement more fluid, each step more confident, and each day more energized. And this renewed freedom is further enhanced by the psychological impact of doing something so simple yet effective each day, as many seniors express a deep emotional release when they realize that they no longer need to live in fear of losing mobility or independence, because every time they perform the stretch and feel just a little stronger, more stable, or less sore, they're reminded that their body is still capable of healing, still adaptable, and still very much alive with potential. And this growing sense of empowerment often spills over into other areas of life, prompting individuals to try new things, perhaps gardening again, walking their dog a little further, or dancing at a family gathering they would have once declined. All because their knees, once seen as obstacles, are now becoming allies in their daily journey. And this is perhaps the most beautiful and unexpected outcome of all, that a brief 3-minute ritual performed regularly has the power to alter the trajectory of aging itself, not by reversing time, but by restoring function, resilience, and confidence in a way that no single medical procedure or prescription ever could. And what makes this even more encouraging is that the stretch requires no gym membership, no therapist, no scheduling hassles, just a quiet space, a bit of intention, and a willingness to move with mindfulness and care. And for many seniors, it becomes more than just an exercise. It becomes a moment of connection with themselves, a space of calm in the day, a reminder that health and healing can still be in their own hands. And when they see the swelling go down, feel the soreness lift, and start to notice that stairs no longer feel like an enemy, the realization settles and that they are not destined for surgery, wheelchairs, or endless medications, but that they can age with strength, dignity, and grace simply by honoring their body's needs with small, consistent actions that pay off in ways that go far beyond the knee, echoing into the rest of their body, their mental state, their relationships, and their outlook on what's still possible in the years to come. As this simple 3-minute stretch continues to become an integral part of daily routines for countless seniors across the globe, what begins to emerge is not just a physical transformation, but a lifestyle shift rooted in empowerment. Because while many people initially try this stretch out of desperation to avoid costly surgery or the painful cycle of medications and cortisone injections, they soon discover that its benefits extend far beyond the knee joint, reaching into the core of their sense of autonomy and the fact that such a low-effort, low-impact movement can generate so much change quickly becomes a source of renewed purpose and daily motivation. As users start waking up looking forward to that quiet time with their body, the short pause before the day unfolds where they're not being pulled in every direction by responsibilities or discomfort, but are instead grounded in emotion that aligns, energizes, and heals. And in these moments, whether performed at the edge of the bed, beside a chair, or even standing in the kitchen while waiting for coffee to brew, seniors report feeling more connected to themselves and in control of their well-being than they have in years, because no longer are they waiting on a doctor's appointment or relying on a new pill, but instead engaging with their own resilience in a deeply personal and proactive way. And this engagement creates a ripple effect that touches every corner of their health, because when pain goes down and strength goes up, other good choices follow naturally, whether it's choosing healthier foods that nourish joints and reduce inflammation, walking a few extra steps to stretch those limbs further, or engaging more confidently in social outings they once avoided due to stiffness or fatigue. And this positive momentum builds, not in dramatic leaps, but in subtle victories like rising from a chair without bracing, sleeping through the night without aches, or bending down to tie a shoe without fear of not getting back up. And these daily wins accumulate, compounding into a kind of quiet revolution in senior health, where independence is reclaimed not through major medical intervention, but through consistency, awareness, and a simple stretch done right. And the best part is that this stretch, unlike many physical therapy routines that require strict adherence to technique or supervision, is forgiving and adaptable, allowing each individual to honor their own body's pace and limitations without judgment. So even those with long-standing knee problems, balance issues, or other chronic conditions can still benefit, because the focus is never on pushing to pain or breaking through strain, but rather on waking up the body's natural healing intelligence through gentle, deliberate movement that reminds the muscles, joints, and connective tissues what healthy function feels like. And what's even more powerful is how this consistent movement begins to nourish the cartilage itself, because, contrary to the outdated belief that cartilage cannot regenerate, research shows that regular, low-impact movement stimulates the production of synovial fluid, which acts like a lubricant for the joints and brings much-needed nutrients to the cartilage, helping slow or even partially reverse wear and tear in some cases. And this is especially important for seniors, who often experience cartilage thinning not because of age alone, but because of years of underuse, poor posture, and mechanical imbalance that lead to uneven loading and breakdown over time. And by restoring alignment and promoting equal weight distribution through this stretch, the knees begin to bear loads more evenly again, reducing pressure on damaged areas and allowing the healing process to take root. And while the transformation may not happen overnight, it is this steady improvement, noticed in the little things, like walking the grocery aisle without fatigue or kneeling to garden without fear, that makes the biggest impact, because it builds a kind of trust between the body and the mind, a trust that says healing is possible and aging does not have to mean decline. And as this trust grows, so too does the willingness to engage with the body more lovingly in other ways, whether it's stretching more often, practicing breathing exercises to reduce tension, or simply resting when rest is needed. And this shift from fighting the body to cooperating with it is perhaps the most life-changing part of all, because it replaces fear and frustration with gratitude and grace. allowing seniors to live more fully in their bodies rather than feeling trapped by them. And this inner peace, this daily dialogue between movement and healing, is something that no surgery can provide, no pill can mimic, and no doctor can prescribe. It must be felt, experienced, and cultivated with patience, which is exactly what this 3-minute stretch encourages. Not through force or perfection, but through repetition, mindfulness, and a quiet commitment to oneself that grows stronger with every passing day. And as more seniors begin to share their stories, telling others how their knees became freer, their back stronger, and their steps lighter, it becomes clear that this isn't just a health tip. It's a movement, a return to a way of living where wellness is rooted in simplicity and sustainability, and where aging is not a process of giving up, but a journey of discovering how much strength still lies within. And through this humble stretch, a new chapter begins, one defined not by limitation, but by liberation, one where 60, 70, or even 80 is not the beginning of the end, but the gateway to a vibrant, mobile, pain-reduced life filled with freedom, joy, and the steady confidence that the body, when supported the right way, will always rise to the occasion.